Hello and welcome to Find Your Freedom, a podcast dedicated to helping you truly find freedom in all aspects of life. Join your hosts and their expert guests as they share practical tips and strategies for finding more freedom in your life. It's time to take control of your life and create the future you want. Let's find your freedom. Here are your hosts, Lenny the Boss and Omid Rad Investor.
Welcome to another episode of Find Your Freedom. I'm super excited and pumped today. Actually, this is a dear friend of mine. And, what's interesting is Casey is somebody, just like Lenny, sat next to me at a conference. So we're at a conference a year ago, and he just happened to be sitting by me, asking me a lot of questions. And we really connected. And, his story really resonated with me. He has kind of like a contractor sort of background, and how he kind of transitioned into the short-term rental space and real estate. And, very young guy and very ambitious. And I think for me, like mindset and personal development is really big and very important for me. And I think that's one of the things we connected. But, I want to kind of talk a little bit more about some of those things that we connected on. And, I'm super, super pumped. Like, Casey, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. I am so pumped to be here. It's gonna be a fun time to talk with you guys as friends. So
yeah, no. So Casey, right before we got on, was saying that he has an audience already. So he's building his audience, and there's even one outside the door. He opened the window, and you maybe share who you discovered watching the show today already.
Yeah. So we also have a live audience today. Got to my office early to get things ready, make sure the lighting was good. So I opened up my window and, there's someone sleeping there just right outside. I get it. It's raining, so he's trying to get out of the rain, but wasn't expecting that, to have somebody just sleeping there, right there, watching me, ready to record this podcast. So the day started off already pretty interesting.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh man, that is too funny, but I can't stop laughing at that. But hey, man, listen, everybody's welcome, right? And that's what Find Your Freedom is about. Everybody is welcome. But I guess before we get into some interesting things, where we can share some value with some of the listeners, if you could, man, let's just give us a background. Give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, of course. So I grew up in Southern California. Born and raised here, a city called Glendora, just kind of a sleeper town outside of LA. I kind of started in when I went to, I kind of felt like growing up, I just kind of thought differently than most people, kind of like how education and like kind of what they see themselves doing as a career, just felt like that was different for me. And so when I was going to college, I actually dropped out of school. I went to Brigham Young University, Idaho, and dropped out probably about 2 years in because I knew I wanted to be a business owner. And I started working with my dad, who has a floor care and water damage restoration business. And he's been doing that for about 30 years now. And I was running operations for him, and was really loved working with my parents and with my dad and building a business. It just wasn't something that I was super passionate. The industry itself wasn't something I was really passionate about. And even though I was making good money, this wasn't something that really I was thriving on, feeling fulfilled. So I decided to try different ventures. So I thought it was e-commerce at first. I think everybody's tried an FBA, Amazon, or, tried something with drop shipping at one point. But I did probably about 6 or 7 businesses that I started and failed before getting into real estate investing. But my most recent venture that didn't work out was actually an e-commerce store for the autism community. So it sold autism related shirts and products that the whole purpose of the business was to employ autistic adults like my brother, and having an older brother who after high school didn't have much work options, so I wanted to create something for him. And unfortunately, that after 2 months of like spending a lot of money on ad spend and putting a lot of time and hours into it, after not seeing the success that I wanted, I was pretty heartbroken and didn't have the funds to keep going. So from there, I thought, you know what, I just need to make money and focus on building something for my family, and before I focus on like helping the autism community. And so that's when I started getting heavy into real estate and figuring how to build wealth, and to, once I have the resources, it'll be a lot easier to create a bigger impact for the community, especially in the autism community. And got heavy into short-term rentals and just figured out, hey, that's the best cash flow play, with also being able to buy more expensive houses that are going to appreciate at a faster rate. And from there, it just I just got obsessed with the topic, and here I am today now with just under 3 million in real estate owned, and just loving life every day, waking up excited to tackle the challenge for the day. So just a quick snippet about me.
Wow, like I mean, so this is what I'm hearing. I'm you attempt college. You're like, this is not for me. You then transition and you're attempting some sort of entrepreneurial sort of like ventures multiple times. You stay consistent with it, and then you eventually kind of land on real estate and build a portfolio and do something that works. So like that's like a very inspiring story for me. And like what I want you to do is maybe break it down a little bit, like as far as, okay, so how do you identify specifically like that you're going to do short-term rentals? Like walk me through like kind of the thought process and kind of like what led you to where you are today.
Yeah, of course. So, because I could definitely break it down. My story could be a lot bigger, but I had a buddy who was doing multifamily syndication. And every time like I talked to him about like the e-commerce stuff I'd working on, he'd always like talk about real estate and be like, well, Casey, like 90% of millionaires are made from real estate. And like, just like would say that all the time. And I'm like, yeah, all right. Like, I get it. And I just kind of always had that mindset of like, okay, well, I'm going to start a business, make a lot of money, and then invest in real estate. Like, I just never assumed that like you could do like both, like make money, a lot of money by investing in real estate.
So I want to interrupt you there real quickly. So, because you're saying,
go ahead.
You don't need a lot of money to invest in real estate, because I think that's a mindset that a lot of people have. Essentially, they think, and that was me myself. I was like, okay, I don't have the money, so I got to save it first, and then I can go into real estate. So walk me through maybe an example of how you can do that, or like that's what like you've done.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I started looking into different ways that you can invest in real estate or buy real estate without having to spend, you have to put 20% down every time you want to buy a place, and have to be in super expensive markets or just in your backyard, essentially. And so I was looking at the BRRRR strategy, which, I mean, for those of you that aren't familiar, the buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. And I noticed a lot of people doing that with long-term rentals, where they were buying houses that were like, $100,000. And so they were buying cheaper properties, but I wanted to do that with, more expensive properties and still be able to cash flow. And so that's why when I mixed the BRRRR strategy with short-term rentals, I could, scale faster and also be able to have more cash flow. So when it comes to obviously the money aspect, when I first got started, I needed to build a track record. So I did have to put, 20% down on that first property to get the hard money loan. But I'm able to recycle that capital by getting that 20% back every time, or like after the end of the deal. And from there, something that not a lot of people know is that you can, once you learn this strategy, it's a lot easier to borrow money. And so from there, once I had proof of concept, I was able to get a private money lender who will lend 100% of the acquisition, and it just by having the proof of concept of how of how it works and showing the numbers on the deal and things like that. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, listen, the BRRRR strategy is one of the best strategies out there, in my opinion, especially like you just said, when you do it successfully, right? And, one of the things I do enjoy and love about the BRRRR strategy is just that you put, the money out there, you force the value on the property, and then you're able to pull the money right back out, have a property cash flow, your money right back into your bank account to sit there and reinvest into other deals. And, I heard a little bit there about, you use hard money, which is great, but it's one thing I do want to touch on, is I heard you say that, you're big on family, right?
mm-hmm.
I heard you say that you're big, on vacationing as well, right? And so, and you said those were the two things that really drove you into the hospitality space, right? So I guess with that being said, how and why, I guess elaborate on that, how and why you are a host, like I want you to get into that, because when I heard your message about your family and traveling and wanting to be together, and that drove you to be a host, like, can you give us a little more on that for the listeners? Because a lot of listeners want that. They want travel. They want family.
For sure. Definitely. And yeah, so family is definitely something that I really value. Pretty much, I feel like everything I do is for my family, is a better life for my wife and for my kids, also for my parents. But what I love about being a host is finding that, that financial is, well, first of all, the financial side of it is great, right? So the cash flow you make from short-term rentals is fantastic. So you're able to build up, that financial freedom, so where I can spend time with my family, with with my kids, with my wife, and have and with that comes along with time freedom. So being able to have control over my time, of being, I want to be able to be at my kids' baseball games or basketball games or whatever it is that they want to do, dance recitals. I don't, whatever they're passionate about, I want to be able to give my time, my energy, and my, and have the resources to do that. So I love that, like, kind of lifestyle of short-term rentals and real estate, because it gives me those things. But I also love traveling. So some of my favorite experiences have been traveling with family. So that's going to, like, we've been to Bali, we've been to Dubai, all over the United States, Europe, and so like those are some of my favorite memories. It was going there and spending time, and so I feel like the lifestyle that short-term rentals or real estate, whatever, it gives me the time and ability to travel and make those memories that I wouldn't be able to have if I wasn't in short-term rentals or real estate. And so that, I would say, is a big motivator for me.
No, so I think a lot of people are afraid of entrepreneurship and the failure piece. There's always like the why, like what drives you to, go through these kind of like difficult challenges and obstacles to kind of get to be able to achieve your goals. And then you kind of describe like the family experience and traveling. So how do you balance that? So how do you balance like running the business and then like what is the right balance? Like, as maybe walk me through kind of like your thought process as far as assessing, okay, like I'm building this business. How much time do you kind of like spend on building the business versus like, with friends and family and kind of the things that matter as they're kind of like associated to your why?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm still figuring it out myself, as far as, the right way of balancing it, especially, in the beginning stages of my business, still trying to, get people hired and get people in place. And it can be tough to really, find that balance. I think what's the hardest part for me too is that like I am obsessed with what I do. And so it's like what I think about and talk about with everybody. And so I love what I do. So it's like when I talk with my friends, like my friends are in business and real estate. And so like when I go to parties, I want to talk about business and real estate at parties. I don't know. So that's so finding that balance, I don't know. I think it's different for everybody. It's just like if you're happy with it though, like if that's what you love doing and you feel like, I don't know, it doesn't feel like work to you, then I don't know, you have your own balance. And like with my wife, like we love, and I don't know, obviously we talk about our kids, we talk about family or church, or, we talk about things that are necessary, but we talk about short-term rentals and I don't know, work all the time because that's what we enjoy talking about. We talk about, design on her side and like, I don't know, different cool like tile work or kitchen work or I don't know, but the finding the balance I think is kind of different for everybody. Especially like for me in the beginning, there was a lot of imbalance in order to get balance. Like in the beginning, I had to work a lot in order to get it to where it was more balanced, right? And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, they think, oh yeah, I need to have the balance. But I think for me, it was important just to have explained to my wife of like, hey, in the beginning, it's going to be a lot of work. I'm going to be working a lot, but like slowly but surely, it's going to be like, I'm having more time back to spend with you and the kids, and I'd rather do that now while our kids are younger versus when they're teenagers and they need me a lot more to be there, like emotionally and like physically. And so, I don't know if that answers your question exactly, but that's how I see it. So
let me tell you, I had to write this down, right? Like, because you said, hey, I had to be in balance to be balanced. And a lot of people need to understand that because it is a lot of upfront work, to do. You have to put processes in place. You have to put systems in place. You have to, like you mentioned, hire people, put them, in place. And I love that you mentioned, listen, everybody's situation is different. You can't sit here and say, oh, Casey, let me take your situation on how you balance with your family and let me adapt that. I can sit here and pull out some attributes that I love, but I can't take everything, from it. So I really enjoy that you shared that with the listeners because that's very important. And the balance thing, look, I'm here, in Pigeon Forge right now at one of my cabins. And I was having a conversation with Omid. I'm saying, oh my God, I need to do all this work while I'm here, but I'm also here with, another 12 people, which is my family. And I'm like balancing that out of when should I work? When should I not? But I want to get into something that I also heard you mention. And, you mentioned gratitude, right? And being grateful. One of the things I do personally every day, I write at least 5 reasons why I am grateful. So can you, share with us on gratitude and what that means to you?
Yeah. So gratitude for me is, I feel like it kind of goes with having a positive attitude. Like positivity for me is really big. Like if I'm having negative thoughts about something and I just, switch my mind, okay, I'm having these negative thoughts, I'm gonna start being positive and just start, thinking about the, or being grateful or the gratitude of practicing gratitude and, just start listing things that are good, right? Start having more positive thoughts, like immediately my mood changes. And I've just noticed it's really unhealthy to dwell on the negative, dwell on the things that are not going well. Because if you think about all the time, there are things that are not going well or things that could not go well. And it's like if you dwell on those, it's just not the healthiest way to live life. And so, for me, I feel like I was so focused on, I'm not a millionaire yet, or I'm not, the best dad in the world, or I'm not the best husband, or, I don't know. I was just focused on the things that I'm not yet. And, for me, like focusing on the things that I have accomplished or the things that are going well just changed my mood, changed how like it affects like my relationships. I don't know. It also helped me just to enjoy the journey more than just focusing on the end result. Because like there's a lot of people who get that end result and then wish they could start over back at the journey because they didn't realize it until the end, but the journey was so good, right? And so I don't know. I've just been trying to live more like in the moment and realize, I have, I'm truly blessed and I have a lot of amazing things in my life, and I just focus on being positive because positivity is such a huge trait to have for anybody trying to start a business or trying to raise a family or trying to be a human being on earth. It's a good thing. So my opinion.
Yeah. So I like, this is what I'm hearing as far as like gratitude. It's tricky because everything's context. So when you think about context, it's like sometimes like even myself, I get into this like habit of like, I get on a social media and I'm like, man, this person's killing it. Like I have one property, they have 10 properties, or, I have 2 properties and they have 20. And wow, like I've posted one time, they're posting 5 times, they get 100 likes versus my 2 likes, and so it just like, I think, I like how you share, it's like about progress and kind of showing like, really looking at things and reflecting on what it is that you're doing and just getting a little better. But I think being a high performer, it's just like you're always critiquing and you're always finding ways to get better. And I think that's the tricky part because it's sometimes you're always looking at, okay, what are the things going wrong versus like, hey, like taking a step back and being like, oh yeah, this is, looking at all these great things that are happening and look at the progress from like a year ago or a month ago or 6 months ago. So, I think that's pretty cool. So like maybe you can, kind of walk me through like one of I know you got into this venture with like a boat, like, and I think that's like such a unique sort of thing. Like how did you come up with the idea and just walk me kind of like your thought process when you came across like an opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I'd love to share that one. That one was something that was a lot of fun. So I always, the last couple of years, I looked at, California real estate is really expensive, and like the average, like to stay, on the West Coast, like in a hotel or Airbnb or whatever, can be pretty expensive. And so I was like, well, I'd look around and I'd see these like marinas with boats, and I've heard of people living on boats. I'm like, well, what if you like, could you Airbnb a boat? Like, is that something that you could do? And so we started looking at. And when I say we, it was actually a buddy of mine that I met at the STR summit that Tony and Sarah Robinson held on that you spoke at, Omid. And we started just talking about how that'd be cool to Airbnb a boat. And from there, we just, started balancing ideas, just started putting a plan in motion, and then just kind of went for it. Found a boat that we were able to, in Marina Del Rey, because that's a huge marina. The guy was selling the boat for, $12,000, and the slip was like $700 a month. And we negotiated with him to do the seller finance, so we were able to get the boat for finance for a year with 0% interest, and so we negotiated that with him. So our slip payment was about $700. The boat payment was about $750 or so. After putting about $3,000 out, so we only had about $3,000 cash put down, and then $2,000 that we put into like furnishing it, fixing it up, adding a little bit of paint here and just adding a coffee maker, that kind of stuff. But it was I loved the process, the entire process, because it was something that people weren't doing. And even though it was risky and the fact of like no one was doing it, and we knew there was like a risk with the marina, not really loving the fact that we were subleasing a slip. But for me, I just I loved it because it made me feel like fulfilled. I don't know, just being creative, being unique, and just having that like entrepreneurship / like kind of like artistic side of things. I loved every minute of it. And it was doing really well. Like once we went live, it was, even the first month they cash flowed $1,500 to $2,000, I think it was in the first month. And then the second month was even better. And then the third month we get an email from the marina saying that they want us to stop operations, which we knew could happen, but we really just wanted proof of concept, and just to, see if we could work out a profit share with them or something like that. But it didn't pan out exactly the way that we wanted it to. We ended up having to sell the boat, and we're rolling it into a different project out in Joshua Tree. But I love doing that project, and we have something similar like that I really want to do in the next couple of years as well, which go a little bit bigger, of possibly just buying my own marina and putting just making this lodge of boats, or floating tiny homes or something like that, just something unique and fun. So
Casey, listen, let me tell you, once again, I'm writing out so many notes from you over here, dude. And I just know that the listeners are doing the same. But one thing, I want to mention is you said, hey, I met a guy, right, at a networking event. I'm sorry, at an educational event. You went to a seminar, right? And so you did some networking there, became friends. And also that's how you and me, right? Sat next to one another. So listeners, it's very important for you to sit here and make sure that you go out to these events and actually talk to someone, because you just never know who would be your next partner. Okay. Also, I love that you went out and you took the short-term rental model, and you want a proof of concept on a boat, right? Like, this is a thing that me and I tell everybody, that real estate is everywhere. You can't get away from it, and I love the creativity, dude. I really do. I love that. Honestly speaking, I never even knew that you can sit here and rent out, a boat. Like, now that you say it, it's like, duh, this makes sense, but I didn't even know that. So I think that's so cool, Casey. I really do. So I guess what's your next adventure, man? You was speaking on something you got going on in Joshua Tree. Like, what you got coming up next?
Yeah. So we originally, I really wanted to do a Star Wars themed type property in Joshua Tree. And this gets kind of complex, but essentially we bought 5 acres of land in Joshua Tree to build kind of, I don't know if the listeners kind of have to be a Star Wars fan to kind of know, but in one of the movies, there's like in like the first 3, the older ones, Luke's uncle's house, there's like this dome type structure that in the middle of the desert. It's like I think it's Tatooine or something. It's just a kind of cool, easy structure. We were gonna do that with the Star Wars themed in the inside, about 300 square feet, nothing too crazy. I do have a buddy out there in Joshua who's going to build it. He was kind of like the perfect guy to do that because he likes glamping and stuff like that. And he was talking to me how in Joshua Tree or San Bernardino County is getting rid of all of their glamping sites. Like, if they don't have a permit attached with the listing, then they're getting rid of it. And so it's kind of in the works, but we are actually kind of thinking of changing it into a glamping site, but like actually get a commercial permit to do so. And that because they've had to get rid of a lot of the glamping, RV, the tents, the stuff in Joshua Tree. Originally it was going to be the Star Wars thing, but because of the opportunity, we're thinking about, switching it over to this, really cool glamping experience. And I still really want to do the Star Wars thing. I just think like that could be put on hold just a little bit. We'll find another piece of land and we'll make it happen. It just, I don't know, when you start networking with other people and you find better opportunities, and that's kind of what happened in this case. So still, really excited about this project, but you're kind of putting the Star Wars one on hold for just a little bit. So
Casey, I don't want to glaze over like the last thing that we talked about, which was the boat piece, because I think it ties into kind of like what you currently like shared about like the project you were working on. So pivoting, like I think there's so much creativity in real estate, and I think your ability to be able to kind of study seller financing, get a deal under contract, 0% interest. So like the fact that you're able to negotiate 0% interest. I mean, how much are interest rates right now? Like 7 to 11,
6 or 7.
Depending on, depending on like if it's like a traditional or commercial loan. So one, you're able to do that with very little money down. You're able to test a concept that, hey, maybe it didn't work out with the regulations, but you also were able to show that, hey, if you're able to be in a position where the regulation was not an issue, you're able to create a cash flow cow with very little money down. Then you pivoted. So you talk about pivoting. So you pivoted and you go into like a project in Joshua Tree, and then you find out some more regulation challenges, and so you're pivoting again. So I think that's the one thing like I want really the listeners to take away is like be creative, think about resources available, pivot when you need to. Just because something doesn't work out doesn't mean like, okay, I'm done, I can't do real estate anymore, or I'm done, I'm not an entrepreneur anymore. I think like having that mindset around like, okay, what is the next thing? How can I pivot? What can I do different? I love that. So I think that's like super amazing how you're able to kind of do those sort of things.
Thanks, dude. And I want to, if I want to touch on that really quick, just you can. The reason why I pivoted, and I kind of come to like this new phrase that I think about, and like I tell other people is like, I really like when it comes down to it, I just want to do cool stuff with cool people. Like, and because I feel like if I'm doing that, if I'm happy with what I'm working with, or I'm happy with the project I'm working on and the people I'm doing it with, then that like will improve my quality of life and just like overall, make me a happier person. And like, comes down to finding your freedom. So like, and to me, so just wanted to touch on that. It's like pivoting is like, just as long as the project I'm working on is making me happy and I love the people I'm working with, then I'll pivot. I have no problem doing that, So.
No, I mean, that's great. That's great. Casey, listen, we can go on and on and on, today, because like this right here, so much value got unpacked today, from financing to burr strategies to pivoting, to just being super creative. And the last thing you mentioned, which was, I just want to work with people that I like and work on projects that I enjoy. And that's where the value of life is. Now, we ask every friend here at Find Your Freedom, podcast is, tell us what Find Your Freedom means to you.
I'd love to answer that. So for me, Find Your Freedom is, I mean, in a short word, it's being happy, but and obviously for like kind of like we talked about before, for everybody it's different. But for me, it's waking up every day and being happy and being able to be excited to tackle the day, right? And for some people who, let's say they have a W-2 job, if they love their W-2 job and that's their freedom, then great. Like, that's what makes them happy. And for some others, I know for me, I was kind of a different have a different mindset on that, but like for me, I love being able to wake up in the morning and work on the projects that I want to be working on, and kind of have the freedom to, at this time, I'm not going to be doing that because I'm going to be with my kids or my wife, or we have this other event, and like not letting anyone else control what I'm going to be doing with my time or the projects that I'm working on, or the I mean, for me personally, it's financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom. Because it's like, for you, Lenny, you're working, but you're in Pigeon Forge. Like, you're not like stuck in a cubicle in downtown somewhere, right? Like, you're able to be working, but still be with family, and then at the same time kind of be on vacation. But like, I don't know, you're able to mix it at all. But like, for some people that may seem not balanced or unbalanced, but for you, it is balanced. And like, I don't know. For me, it's just doing the things that you love with people you love, and just enjoying every day. So that's what it is.
And I love that. I think that's it's defined differently. Like you said, like for W-2, if it makes you happy, you do the W-2. If it's whatever it is that makes you happy, and I think that's kind of the point of the show is sharing people's different stories as far as what like is freedom for you, and maybe that might spark some sort of idea for somebody else. So that's really the point of the show. I think with Casey, we're working on the Hospitable Host book. It's kind of like a blueprint on how to be very successful hospitable host. So maybe just talk a little bit about that, and then just tell us how we can connect with you.
Yeah.
So we already got callers like for the book.
Yeah, they're calling us. Yeah, like, hello, where can I get my copy? Sorry. So Hospital Host book, really excited about that. Was really kind of emotional for me, just trying to go like do a lot of reflection on like, my story, and how the journey's been. It's been fun, so excited for that to come out, and excited to work on. Like I said, that's a good example. Do cool things with cool people, right? Like it's a cool book. Got to do with Omid, like people like Natalie Palmer, Alex Savio, just a lot of other friends that are on there, so really excited for that project, and excited for the turnout. I'm spacing on your second question.
Oh yeah, and then like where can we connect with you? Like how
Yeah. So the best place is Instagram. My handle is Casey_Karlen. And I post a lot. I try to post a lot of content on there, and just try to add value as much as I can. But yeah, especially if anyone sends me a DM, I always respond. But yeah, if you want more of a casual conversation, I'm always accepting people on Facebook as well. So, but those two are the best places to get a hold of me. So,
fantastic. All right, so like I mention all the time, here at Find Your Freedom, we don't have guests, we have friends. All right, so one of the things that we like to do is at the end of our shows, we like to do this boom. All right, so we're gonna do this countdown. Okay, 1, 2, 3, boom. Now, the objective here is to rock the nation. All right, so you got a couple things going on. So you got to rock the guy that's looking through, your window. You got to rock the individuals that behind you, and we have to rock everyone that's listening to this, through their speakers. All right, so on 3, we're gonna sit there and go boom. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Boom! Awesome. Listen here. We just had a fantastic show with Casey. He let you know how to get in contact with him. I'm telling you, this is really, really a good guy. Super smart, super cool. So reach out to him when you can. Now, we also need help from you. We know that you want to hear more and more of this. So we need a 5-star rating. We need a couple comments down there, which we will answer if you have a question. So with that being said, make sure that you share with all your friends. Make sure that you share with all your family, and we talk to everyone soon. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Find Your Freedom. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. While you're at it, please help us spread the word by leaving a rating and review and sharing the podcast with friends, family, and colleagues. Until next time, get out there and find your freedom.